2020, this year is going to go down in the history books. But on today's episode, rather than focus on all of the craziness that was COVID, I'm going to be going through all of the things that happened this year for me personally and at Style Story. So stick around for 2020 in review. Welcome to the Korean Beauty Show, where we're talking all things Korean skincare, makeup, and more. If you want to learn about the hottest trending products and ingredients straight from South Korea, then this is the podcast for you. Each week, we'll be diving in to take a look at the latest trends, as well as all the tips and tricks you need to perfect your K-beauty routine. I'm your host, Lauren Lee, professional K-beauty expert and founder of Korean beauty platform Style Story. From the Aussie bushfires and COVID to the launch of Jellyco, we had a massive year this year discovering, curating, and reporting on all the latest crazes from Korea. So on today's episode, I'm going to do a month-by-month recap on the year that was. So thank you everyone for joining me this year. If this is your first time listening, then you've got 33 other episodes to catch up on, which may make this episode make a little bit more sense. So probably go and do that first. But for everyone that has been listening all year, I just want to thank you again, obviously, for coming on this ride with me. Those of you who have been listening since the beginning will remember that this podcast started as a little side project to distract everyone and also to replace the K-beauty meetups that we had been doing when a certain virus that shall not be named kicked off earlier in the year. So this podcast was born in May and it's now December. So thanks so much to everyone that has been tuning in, for everyone who has left their review of the podcast. I have had so much fun getting to meet some of you online, obviously virtually, socially distanced. So yeah, I'm just going to run through some of the highlights of the year and what I got up to, basically. So to kick off, obviously in January, we had the Aussie bushfires. So we did a donation and donated $5 for every order that we received on stylestory.com.au to the Aussie bushfire appeal. So the bushfire, when I think about it now, just seems like a lifetime ago. Like, I can't believe it was actually January of this very same year. I remember, obviously, I was in Korea at the beginning of the year when the news sort of hit, and I just could not believe it. It made front page headlines here, which whenever Australian news makes front page headlines in Korea, it means it's a pretty big deal. So the bushfires, that was a major crisis, and I know a lot of people pitched in to help out. So yeah, that was sort of the year kicked off, obviously, with on the wrong foot with that. So also in January, I guess, in terms of what we were doing at Style Story, we were working really hard from the beginning of the year on product development for obviously our in-house brand Jellyco, which didn't launch until much, much later in the year. But we have had so many false starts over the last couple of years with products that we've developed that we weren't happy with. So we had some products in development last year that we ended up just completely canning because, you know, we sort of got to the 6th or 7th version and it was just getting worse and worse and worse, and we weren't happy with the products that were coming along, so we just canned them all together. We've had to change suppliers multiple times. It's been really, really hard to find people that share the same goal and vision as us, and are also happy to go along with a company that is obviously a lot smaller and more niche. You know, I think a lot of the manufacturers over here have a very different way of doing things and are used to things following a certain maybe path. And they're very much in control of the situation. So we, from the beginning of the year, were sort of struggling with how best to bring the vision that we had for our products to life. So that was kind of an ongoing, I think, recurring theme for us throughout the year. So I will talk a little bit more about that as I go through the various different months. So in February, we had lots of new products that launched on Star Story, and one of the really ones that went on to be really hit products were Applebee's vitamin C serum, and then also their glutathione products. So glutathione is one of these antioxidant ingredients that I did go into detail on in one of our earlier episodes, which was a giant list of K-beauty ingredients and the different skin types that they're perfect for. So if you haven't already, go back in the archives and find that one, because that's a really great primer on just a whole heap of different ingredients that are trending in K-beauty at the moment, and glutathione is definitely one of those. So that line launched in February and is definitely one of our most popular product lines, I can say, basically, but at the end of the year looking back. So that was February for us. Product launches, everything was looking really positive, and then March, and obviously everything came to a bit of a standstill in Australia. So from probably the end of February, I would say, in Korea, obviously we started to feel the effects of COVID, and Korea being a country that has gone through MERS and SARS before, we had a very, very different reaction here than I think a lot of other countries did. And I know in the beginning in Australia, it looked like people weren't really going to be taking it that seriously. And, you know, you guys in Australia were probably just going to not have a big sort of reaction to it. Whereas we in Korea, it was like immediately everyone started wearing masks and it was like panic stations. But then by March, it had hit Australia and there were murmurings of, you know, full lockdown and everything like that. So we were really worried that our whole warehouse would shut down and our business would basically collapse. So that was a super, super stressful month. And in fact, we ended up shutting our office in Seoul because there were just patients popping up a lot in the neighborhood that our office was based in, and the government was asking people to shut down. So we have been in face masks pretty much since March in Korea, and we have had a series of lockdowns and, you know, restrictions and stuff like that. I don't want to bore you guys with all of the details because I know everyone's been living their own different version of that. But that also kicked off in March, and I was seriously worried that we were going to end up closing our business. So March was a very, very stressful month. And then somehow in April, because everyone was at home, locked down, Star Story actually recorded its biggest ever month of sales ever in the history of our business. So that was just wild to go from March thinking that we might close down to then April, the biggest month ever since we have launched online in 2014. That was insane. But it became pretty clear that there was not going to be international travel anytime soon. So I had to cancel all of my planned trips back to Australia, which obviously I go back very, very often. And we do lots of events, live events, K-beauty events, meetups and things like that. So they were all cancelled. And that was in May that I was looking for a way to kind of replace that, because one of the things that I love about our Star Story community is that it is a community and that we have so many people, you know, who love K-beauty coming together. So I wanted to keep that going, even though I physically couldn't be there and I physically couldn't be meeting people and catching up in person. So that's when the podcast launched. So the podcast launched, I think, in the middle of May. And that was a bit of a crazy decision in and of itself. I think we just put something up on Instagram like, who would listen to a K-beauty podcast? And people were like, yes! And I was like, okay, all right, I guess I'm buying a microphone. Let's see how this is going to work out. So that was a bit crazy, a bit of a learning curve. And obviously I'm still learning as I go. This is not a like super professional, I guess, studio or anything. I've experimented with a couple of different setups for how to record the podcast, and at the moment I am recording it basically from inside my pantry, because we had comments and things like that earlier in the year that there was a lot of background noise. So I've stopped doing it in the office because our office is on a major intersection and I'm now standing in my pantry. So that has been the evolution of the podcast since it launched in May. Now, the other thing that happened in May, I recall very vividly because it happened to me, was that maskne started becoming a problem for a lot of people. So that was obviously acne caused by the friction of your face mask sort of rubbing against your face the whole time. So I remember doing an episode of the podcast pretty early on about how to deal with maskne. So that was a sort of a skincare phenomenon from 2020 that I think is definitely going to last into 2021. Certainly here in Seoul, we are all wearing masks. Every time we leave the house, it's mandatory. You get fined for not wearing one. And I'm pretty sure that's across the board all over Asia. Asia has a long history of wearing face masks in pandemics. And it's seen as not only a way to take care of your own health, but also as a point of consideration for the people around you. I know that there has been a lot of resistance to wearing masks in other countries, but there has been none of that really here. It's just you do not see people outside without a mask on. So that's been the entirety of 2020, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. So in June, behind the scenes, we had a lot of work with consulting clients who are looking to manufacture products for their own brands here in Korea. That's obviously a really big industry trend in Korea in general. A lot of really big brands that you guys would definitely know, if they don't actually manufacture their products over here, they're manufacturing their packaging and containers and stuff like that in Korea. K-beauty obviously has a really big reputation in the Western world now as being at the forefront of beauty, and there are so many labs and things like that here. So we do some consulting work for people that are looking to do that on the ground in Korea, and that was a big part of the work that we were doing in June. Now, the other big thing that happened in June was the launch in Australia of Purito's unscented line. So unscented cosmetics are having a really big moment in K-beauty at the moment, and I think that this is largely because there are some big name influencers, particularly on YouTube, that are touting unscented, so essential oil and fragrance free, as being the only acceptable option in skincare. And I think a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon. I'm going to leave my thoughts on that to another episode because I think I probably need an entire episode. But those of you who follow me on Instagram will already know my thoughts about that. But that was a big launch and a very popular one. So that was, they brought out a toner and a serum that are a replica of their centella-based products, but this time without any essential oils or fragrances in it. So that was in June. Now, in July, the podcast hit 2,000 downloads, which I thought was just amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, there are 2,000 people that want to listen to this. Crazy. So that was 2 months after we launched. So that was a pretty big milestone, and I was pretty happy with that. Now, August, look, I'm sure some stuff happened, but I can't really remember. I was trying to rack my brain to think of anything in particular happened in August. I know it was summer here in Korea. I can't think off the top of my head, but look, I turned up to work every day, so surely something happened. If anyone would like to remind me what I did in August, let me know. It feels like a very long time ago. September was the two big things happened. Obviously, Style Story was celebrating 6 years of our online launch. Some years we do like a party. This year it just sort of it was all a bit too much because, more importantly, finally, after all my hard work, we managed to launch Jellicoe's. I shouldn't say mine. It was actually totally a team effort. And if anyone in my team hears this, they'll be like, excuse me? It was a team effort, totally a team effort. But we finally managed to launch Jellicoe's first product, which was our bubble tea steam cream. So we were to say we were stoked is like a big understatement. When you work that hard on a product and it finally is out in the world, we were so excited. So that happened in September. That was a pretty big deal. We are still super excited about that. Anytime anyone leaves a review for it or shares it online, we're like, yeah, doing like a little happy dance. Unless it's a bad review, and it's sad face. But thankfully not too many of those, so it's fine. In October, so October is normally K-Beauty Expo. Every year, I think in about the second week of October, we do K-Beauty Expo, but obviously not this year. So that was really jarring because we have people come over from Australia to join the team in Seoul who work in Australia. That obviously didn't happen at all. The expo wasn't on. So that was just crazy. And it really sort of put the whole year, I guess, into a bit more focus. I was like, wow, this year really is so different from other years. I love the expo. Like normally this is not the only expo. I go around to most of them, but that's definitely the biggest one. And last year I was invited to speak at the 2019 K-Beauty Expo as one of the panel of experts in a forum. So I was kind of looking forward to maybe doing that again this year, and that obviously didn't happen. And then it's also just a really great chance for us to go and meet everyone in the industry, to go and see what people are doing and, put faces to names and all of that kind of thing. People come from all over the world. So it's a really good chance to like catch up with people, and none of that happened. So October, a little bit of a strange one, but we did do our Best of K-Beauty Awards, which is always really fun to get feedback from the community and find out the products that you guys are really just absolutely loving and just get that direct feedback. Obviously, we can tell what people are liking based on social media and also what people are buying. But it's always good just to hear in people's own words why they really love a product and what they're looking for in their products. So that was in October. And the other big thing that happened is this very podcast officially hit 10,000 downloads, which blew my mind, in 96 countries. So that is pretty crazy. So that was a pretty big month in October. And then in November, obviously the big ticket item in November is our epic Black Friday sale. So that was a pretty big one. We did 20% off site-wide, and I know a lot of people jumped onto that. So Black Friday is just becoming more and more popular. And the other big news was the launch of Jellyco's second product, which was our Cherry Blossom Sleeping Mask. So we were overwhelmed by the response to that. And in fact, our bubble tea steam cream sold out like at the beginning of Black Friday, basically. So many people jumped on it to buy it. We were totally caught short. So we also launched our Cherry Blossom Sleeping Mask. So we have just been blown away by the support and the love that you guys have shown for both of those products. So that's super exciting. And then in December, guys, this podcast hit 15,000 downloads. Slow down already. So I am just like, this is so cool. I'm so grateful for everyone that has tuned in. I've had a ball getting to meet so many of you, talk through your skincare routines, your favorite products, your best finds. Lots of people have put in requests for episodes of the podcast. So if I haven't got to yours yet, don't worry. It is on my list. I have a really, really big list going for future episodes. So if I've spoken to you, your episode is coming. Just bear with me. This is a crazy time of year. So we've obviously got plenty of exciting things planned for 2021 as well. So to everyone that has tuned in this year, thank you once again. I am really hopeful that you will stick around and come back in 2021. And if you're not already, don't forget to come and follow us on Facebook. We are stylestory.au. Someone else had taken the original Style Story, so we got the .au. We are on Instagram, stylestory_kbeauty, and then my personal Instagram handle is lauren.kbeauty. And yeah, do that. Make sure you sign up to the newsletter so that you can get freebies and discount codes and coupons and all the latest news. We always give all of our best offers for all of our sales to our newsletter subscribers first. So if you were one of those people that missed out on, a product or something like that, and you're wondering why they're all gone, probably because the newsletter subscribers went in with their cheeky early codes and pick them all up first. So do get on the list if you love a bargain and you like advanced notice of sales and things like that, because that's the way we always do it. Yeah, guys, I hope that your 2020 has ended on a better note than it hit at some points of the year. I know it's been a crazy year. It's been absolutely insane. Unfortunately, it looks like 2021 is not going to be completely out of the woods, but hopefully now that we are learning how to live with this virus, things are looking a bit more up. As everyone keeps saying, it's the new normal. So look, I think we've made heaps of adjustments. So hopefully at least 2021, it won't hit us like a ton of bricks, because we will know a bit more what to expect. But yeah, crazy year, crazy times. Thank you for spending part of your year with me. And I am super pumped to come back next year and talk more about the world of K-beauty. So I will see you then, or talk to you then. And in the meantime, I'll catch you on Style Story.